Football is tribal, more than any other sport, and never more so than on Derby Day. Few sporting rivalries can compete with a football rivalry. And in the world's most popular game, nothing compares to Barcelona versus Real Madrid. This is a rivalry born out of conflict.
It goes back to the Franco's oppression of parts of Spain.
In Catalonia, they used El Clasico to portray Catalan ways that they couldn't show in the streets.
They think that they are Catalonia and that they are playing against Spain.
Where they fought to sign the same players.
I was going to play football in Europe with Barcelona, but because of the circumstances, I ended up signing a contract with Real Madrid.
Ajax made a mistake to start negotiations with Madrid in my back without I knew it. So then the decision was quite easy made.
Madrid have been the rulers.
Barcelona aspired to win, but we won. That was the difference.
As have Barcelona.
We were the only ones playing football because our manager and our players were better than them.
And the intensity only increases every year.
100,000 people whistling every time you touch the ball for 90 minutes. It's a very strange feeling, you know.
Fans don't know what happens on the pitch. Stamping, spitting, insults towards your mother, your wife.
That makes these derbies really intense, because this is where the whole league is decided.
The rivalry between Real Madrid and FC Barcelona transcends football. It pits the capital of Spain against the capital of Catalonia, a fiercely independent region in Spain's northeast. It's a clash of cultures between Castilian Spanish and the Catalan.
It's much more than just a football match. It goes much further back. Historically, Real Madrid has represented a way of understanding Spain, and Barca is a symbol of Catalonia. Barca is like Catalonia's heart.
The Catalonian identifies a lot with his city and his emotions, but in Madrid, it is very different. In Madrid, the importance of beating Barcelona exists, but there is not the feeling of, I'm not only defending my team's colours, but also my city or my country, which is how it is in Catalonia.
They think that they are Catalonia and that they are playing against Spain, and you have to beat them at all costs, and that is not the case. It is Barcelona v Real Madrid. Real Madrid is not Spain, but they see it that way, so that creates a much more tense environment.
The Spanish Civil War raged across the country from 1936 until 1939 and played a significant role in the football club's rivalry. Real Madrid was seen as a symbol of Francisco Franco, the dictator who imposed Spanish culture on the fiercely proud Catalans of Barcelona, who supported the Republican side.
They weren't allowed to speak their own language in Catalonia. The place that they probably did do it was inside the stadium. So the team became a reflection of Catalonia against Franco's Madrid, if you like.
Coming to the stadium was the only way for people to express their feelings, their Catalan and Barcelona way of thinking. These matches were used for the people to express their dissatisfaction towards the political situation, and that political factor remained in the Clásicos.
Suffering occupation and oppression, the Catalan people saw their flag and even their language banned. It's little wonder that Barcelona became more than a club.
It was more than a club because it meant more than just being a football club. It was a feeling of being Catalan and a rejection of other things.
Barcelona were all about freedom and democracy, and Madrid represented the opposite. And that's still there today in people's minds.
In Catalonia, they used El Clasico to portray Catalan ways that they couldn't show in the streets.
During this period, a perception grew that Franco's support of Los Blancos had an undue influence on footballing matters, at the expense of Barcelona. The reality, however, is different.
Franco came to power on April the 1st, 1939, and Madrid, who had won their last title in 1933, did not win it again until 1954. So they went 21 years without winning the league.
No, it was not true. It was a myth. And that myth got turned into something that everyone believed. That was that if you won, it was because of Franco.
That's what the culés say, not us. And the proof is that Barca won more leagues with Franco in power than after he died.
The rivalry simmered, threatening to boil over. And what became known as the Di Stefano affair fanned the flames significantly.
I left River Plate to go to Millonarios in Colombia. But there was an agreement that by October 1954, all the players from these two countries had to return to their original clubs. Some Catalan football directors came to Argentina. They said that they intended to take me to Barcelona. I replied that they should speak to Millonarios from Colombia, as until 1954, I belonged to them and not to River Plate. But the Catalan guys went to River first, in order to lure me, and that's where the problem arose.
They reached a verbal agreement that Di Stefano would play during the 53-54 season for Barcelona and the next for Madrid. But then he showed up on the 23rd of September 1953 at Atocha train station in Madrid. He went to the club, passed the medical, went back to the hotel having signed his contract, saw his wife, and at 3 o'clock made his debut against Nancy of France.
Alfredo Di Stefano made his Spanish league debut against Barcelona. He scored and would go on to become one of Real Madrid's greatest ever players.
I was happy anyway. I came to a new club. Everything was new for me. And I was lucky enough to play with a good team.
Di Stefano changed the course of history for Real Madrid because the club had not won the league in 21 years, and during his first season, in 53-54, the team won the title again.
That league title ensured Real Madrid qualified for a new competition, the European Cup. They won the inaugural final 4-3 against Stade de Reims of France. They went on to win the next 4 as well as 4 league titles in 7 years. The rivalry seemed to be losing its competitiveness. But in 1960, Real Madrid, the champions of Europe, met Barcelona, the champions of Spain, in the second round of the European Cup.
According to the players at the time, UEFA were allegedly becoming tired of Madrid's success, having won 5 consecutive European titles.
It was very strange, because the ref's performance in Barcelona was unusual.
The fact remains, he had some dubious calls in both legs.
During the first leg, in 1961, it was a surprise that Barcelona drew 2-2 at the Bernabeu. Firstly, they scored an offside goal, and secondly, Vicente was outside the penalty area when he fouled Coxes, and the referee awarded a penalty. And then, at the Camp Nou, when Madrid had 4 disallowed goals, well, that was just crazy.
I believe that it was decided behind the scenes that Real Madrid shouldn't win yet another European Cup. So there was definitely something there.
Barcelona went on to reach the final in 1961, losing to Benfica 3-2. Their victory over Real was scant consolation. Over the next 14 years, Barca won just 2 Copa del Reys. Real gathered 8 league titles, 2 Copa del Reys and their 6th European Cup. But for both sets of fans, this was always the fixture. And that has never changed.
The reaction surprises you when the players walk out of the tunnel. You get a shiver down the spine due to the animosity the Barca fans show when they welcome the Real Madrid team.
I scored a hat-trick in the first one I ever played, and it was incredible. I mean, I scored 2 goals in the first 5 minutes. The goosebumps were on the back of my neck. The crowd was just deafening.
Very loud, fierce, very vociferous. You know, when we arrived in at the new camp, you know, we'd have to have armed guards running alongside your team bus from the hotel to the stadium, you know, with these running alongside the bus with shotguns. I mean, it's just incredible.
They try to insult the opposition team, undermine their confidence, and improve their own team's chances of winning the match.
If you score away from home, it's like a deathly hush. But when you do score at home, the noise and the atmosphere is like nothing else.
By 1974, Barcelona had gone 14 years without a league title, but had employed Dutch coach Rinus Michels with the sole aim of delivering the championship. To achieve his goal, Michels signed his former star player from Ajax, Johan Cruyff.
I always looked in the papers to Barcelona. Michels was here already for 2 years, so talked about the way it was structured and all these other things. And then Ajax made a mistake to start negotiations with Madrid in my back without I knew it. So then the decision was quite easy made.
Cruyff claimed he knew little about Spanish politics. He soon found out about the unique situation that Catalonia was in.
My son was born in 74, let's say 6 months later. And I heard the name Jordi, so we call him Jordi. So I went to, he'd been born in Holland. So I went to the authorities and put Jordi in, like a normal name. And then I came here and it was not allowed, Jordi. Why is it not allowed? Well, it's a Catalan name. I said, well, if you use an American name, a Japanese name, or Catalan name, what the hell do you care? So they said, no, you're not allowed. I said, well, and they say, you're not allowed, I'll do it anyhow. So it's, I said, well, if you don't want to write it down, I'll write it down. I've got my own papers. I don't care.
Cruyff was an instant success. By February 1974, Barcelona went to the Bernabeu, knowing victory would be crucial in their quest for a first league title in 14 years. It would become one of Barcelona's greatest nights.
That 5-0 was a score that is always remembered here when a Clasico comes along, because it was 5-0, away from home.
When Cruyff arrived here, he showed there were other ways of playing. He was the best player in the world at the time, without a doubt, and he proved it that year, as he had a sensational season. We learnt a lot. We improved our personal performances, which benefited the whole team, and that allowed us to win the league with 7 or 8 weeks to spare.
It went a little to the politics movement, let's put it that way. So they start to thank you, instead of say congratulations, they start thank you. It's like that we did something for them, for the public, or for the people, or something like that. I just played a game where people could enjoy themselves and be happy about their team. That's always been my way of thinking. But of course, a lot of people, they translate it in politics, which means we win against Madrid. No, we just won the league.
That was a massive shock for us merengues. But a month later, something a culé will never tell you, we beat them 4-0 in the cup final and won the trophy.
Barcelona's 1974 league title would be a false dawn. The next 16 years saw Real Madrid claim 10 titles to Barcelona's 1. But in 1988, Johan Cruyff returned to the Camp Nou as coach. Barcelona won 4 consecutive titles and their first ever European Cup.
When Johan came to play for Barca in 1973, we were 10 years old, so we used to copy his haircut. We tried to play like him. He began a real social revolution in Barcelona during those years. Johan transformed football into an art. But what he did best was to build the foundations of a different way of understanding the game. As a manager, he gave us 4 consecutive league titles and our first European Cup.
It was the most important game at that time in the history of the club. We had to play it and took so long to win their first European Cup.
For the Barcelona fans, Cruyff in that era was a sensational player. And after, as a coach, he showed he had phenomenal knowledge of the game. And I think he was the pioneer of the football Barcelona are currently playing.
The rivalry was levelling out. From 1994 to the end of the century, both clubs won 2 titles each and enjoyed special nights in El Clasico.
5-0, I think it has happened 5 times in 80 years. And I played 2 of them. And on the good side, both times, I think in 12 months. I think that was incredible.
In 1994, after 5 years as the pride of Barcelona, Michael Laudrup switched to Madrid, infuriating fans.
I know when they see this white shirt, they get very angry, and especially if they see me in it, of course. So I don't think I expected it to be so bad as it was. I mean, 100,000 people, maybe not all of them, but at least a great part of them, whistling every time you touch the ball. It's a very strange feeling, you know.
Laudrup got off lightly. 6 years later, Florentino Perez became Real's president, promising to sign 1 world-class player a year. This was the era of the Galactico, and in 2000 his first signing was Luis Figo from Barcelona.
For Barcelona, at that time, Figo was an idol, an absolute idol. And the president of Barcelona, Joan Gaspar, well, he never thought that Madrid would take Figo away from them. It would be like Madrid signing Messi. Unthinkable.
He couldn't take corners the first year he went back, and the year later he did take corners, and you know, golf balls and whiskey bottles and mobile phones, and the famous pig's head was launched at him.
The pig's head. That match is remembered for that pig's head. But I think there were many more dangerous things being thrown. The safety of the players was under threat, because throwing a glass whiskey bottle could easily have killed someone.
Real Madrid had the upper hand. 6 months earlier, they'd faced their rivals in the Champions League semi-finals, with the first leg in Barcelona.
It was the first time we'd won there in a long, long time, and I didn't realise, as much as I was very happy that we won the first leg 2-0, in the dressing room afterwards, the Spanish players, the Spanish Madrid players in particular, were going crazy, you know, with happiness.
A 1-1 draw in the second leg saw Madrid through to the final. In Glasgow, Bayer Leverkusen were beaten 2-1 thanks to a memorable strike from Zinedine Zidane. The Galacticos' policy of President Perez was paying off. Real Madrid were expected to dominate the European scene for years to come.
As soon as the new president came over, he decided to coin this phrase, coin other phrases that, you know, have come back to haunt him, really. And then we proceeded to buy big-name players and market them to make Madrid successful financially as well.
A team is not just made up of great stars. If you compare it to a building site, you need labourers, engineers and architects. Or, as Di Stefano says, you need to know who plays the violin and who plays the trumpet, meaning that an orchestra is not just made up of the best violinist.
Real Madrid's Champions League win of 2002 would be the Galacticos' only European title. Meanwhile, the youth policy in place at La Masia, Barcelona's fabled academy, was about to produce one of the greatest club sides the world has ever seen.
At the end of my last season, almost the entire starting 11 had come through our academy. That was marvellous. We called La Masia the Dream Factory for those kids that wanted to play for the first team. An investment in the academy secures your football identity. You create a special attachment and commitment from the players to the club because they've been with you since childhood. They have the same way of playing as the first team, and they identify themselves with that philosophy.
Barcelona's homegrown policy versus Madrid's heavy spending ploy saw the rivalry reach a new intensity. Off the pitch, even the coaches clashed.
I don't know which one Jose's camera is. It must be all of them. In this room, he's the chief, the man, the person who knows everything about the world, and I don't want to compete with him at all.
As coach of Inter, Jose Mourinho had goaded Barca's fans after the Italians' 2010 Champions League semi-final victory at the Camp Nou. Now as coach of Real Madrid, Mourinho had Pep Guardiola, his opposite number at Barcelona, in his sights. This argument was the backdrop to the 2011 Champions League semi-final between the two clubs. Messi versus Ronaldo. Guardiola versus Mourinho. The rivalry was more fractious than ever.
If I say to Guardiola and to UEFA what I think and feel, my career would end today. But he has already won one Champions League, that if it was me, I would have been embarrassed to have won. And if this year he wins again, he'll win because of the scandal of the Bernabeu.
Barcelona won the battle, though, and went on to beat Manchester United to win their third Champions League trophy in 6 years. For the first time in the rivalry's history, Barcelona were the dominant side.
The title count has always shown that Madrid were the best. They were the team of the century, of the 20th century. This century, the 21st century, Barcelona's record has been more than amazing. The supremacy is different. The club is lucky to be enjoying a very successful spell with the new generation.
Real Madrid signed a great manager, a winning manager. So that gave us our challenge of becoming the best team in the world even more significance. We knew that Real Madrid were going to be strong under Mourinho. But fortunately, Barcelona under Guardiola and with Messi were able to continue to dominate the world of football.
Under Mourinho, Real Madrid recaptured the La Liga title in 2012. Their rivalry has driven these two clubs to the pinnacle of the game, and El Clasico is such a must-win match that events on and off the pitch often overstep the mark.
The atmosphere on the pitch is very different. That aggressiveness, to want to hurt others. It used to be that 5 or 6 teams could win the league. Now only 2. So you know that if you lose against them, the league will be harder to win. They both know that if they win that match, they will win the league.
With Guardiola and Mourinho no longer in charge, there is hope that the recent antagonism between the two clubs will die down. World-class players have always starred for Barcelona and Real Madrid. But this rivalry outshines any individual.
Absolutamente espectacular lo que acaba de hacer.
A century on from the first meeting, El Clasico remains the most watched and most compelling club match in world football.
The rivalry between Madrid and Barcelona has no comparison.
Every year is the match of the century. It's always the match of the century.
When Madrid play Barcelona, the country stops. The whole country stops.
Madrid-Barcelona games have such an importance at a football level. There's just nothing like it. The rest, they're just little vendettas.
I think rivalry is something good, but you always need to approach it in a respectful and a civilized fashion, with passion and the will to win. You need to put on a show for the fans and keep making history. The rivalry will always exist, right to the end, and that's the way it should be.